Hello guys, in today's YouTube video I'm going to teach you about a little life hack that can be used to potentially make you a ton of money. It is extremely simple and it's basically just to reinvest your dividends. The reason why it is so powerful to reinvest your dividends is due to something known as compound interest. If you don't know what compound interest is, then don't worry. I have made a video that covers the concept and I will leave a link to it in the description below the video. In order to show you guys just how powerful dividend reinvesting actually is, I've made an Excel spreadsheet where we have one person who actually reinvests all of his dividends and we have another person who doesn't reinvest his dividends. We will then see after a time period of 20 years how much value and how much wealth difference there is between these two persons. And I can tell you right now that there is a significant value difference. And that only speaks to the importance of reinvesting your dividends. Reinvesting your dividends is extremely powerful and the concept in itself can be explained by the snowball effect. Basically, the snowball effect is that you start rolling a snowball down a hill, and the idea is that in the beginning of this hill the snowball is going to be very small, but the further down the hill the snowball comes, the larger it becomes and the faster it starts to roll. And it's the same concept when it comes to reinvesting your dividends. Basically, when you reinvest your dividends, the amount of money that you gain from in the beginning is going to be very low. However, as time passes and you start reinvest more and more of your dividends into the stock again, well, then you're going to generate more and more money. And as time passes on, you will actually be able to gain a significant proportion of money every single year just because you started to reinvest your dividends. So with that being said, then let's jump into Excel and show you guys just how powerful it actually is. In this Excel example right here, we have one investor. This investor has $20,000 to invest into the stock market, and this investor decides to buy one single stock. The stock price for this company is $20 per share, and we do assume that this stock will on average increase by 8% every single year. The reason for this number is because this is the average number for the S&P 500 index. We've also assumed that on average this company is going to pay 3% in dividends in comparison to the price of the stock. This is also the average for the S&P 500 companies. So now I'm going to go over the example where the investor is actually reinvesting his dividends. Right here we have the total amount of years that I'm performing this analysis over, and it's 21 years in total. Basically, we have the stock price here, and we do see that the stock price is changing every single year because we do assume, as I said before, that the stock price changes by 8% per year. We have the total investment of $20,000 as listed up here as well. This provides a total of 1,000 shares the first year. The total dividends received is going to be $0.6 per share, and that is a total of $600 in dividends the first year. For these $600, the investor is then buying 30 new shares, which means that he will now here have 1,030 shares. Basically, in year one, the investor will have the total value of the investment plus the dividend payments. Now, this is when it all starts to get interesting, because in year two, the investor now has 30 more shares than he did in the previous year. At the same time, the stock price has increased from 20 to 22, which means that he's now receiving a higher dividend payment per stock, and he has more stocks, which means that he's essentially earning something like $67 more in dividends in year two than he did in year one. And now he's able to buy 31 new shares. And this is sort of like happening again every single year. And if we go down here, we do see that after 21 years, this investor will actually have $168,364.14 invested. That is an absolute massive return to be making on a total investment of $20,000. So here we do see what is happening with the value of our money over time and the power of actually reinvesting your dividends. Let's compare these numbers to the investor over here who is not reinvesting his dividends. Here again we have the exact same amount of years, we have the same change in stock price, we have the same investments, we have the same amount of stocks, we have the same number here and the same $600 here. So the same value after year 1. But you see, instead of reinvesting these, he's actually withdrawing them from the stock market, which means he will not get a higher number than 1,000 shares. So basically in year 2 he will receive a higher dividend because of the stock price increase, but not because of anything else. So it's a pretty simple example. And if we go down here to the bottom of this table, we do see a total amount of $96,015 in total. And that is a pretty good return, but compared to the number over here, it's not very impressive at all. In order to give a bit more detail about the difference of these numbers, I've made this table over here. Basically, we can see that if you did reinvest your dividends in this example, you would have achieved a return that was $72,000 higher by only reinvesting your dividends, which is equivalent to 75%. Down here we do also see the difference in value over time, and we do see that the sort of like value difference here in the beginning is not that big, but as time passes the difference gets larger and larger and larger. And imagine if this was a 40-year example, for example, then the difference here would be absolutely massive. I hope that the example that I provided helped you get some insights into just how important it is to actually reinvest all of your dividends. Of course, there can be some scenarios where you don't have that opportunity, if you, for example, need the money to pay your bills or something like that. But if you do have the opportunity to reinvest your dividends, well, then I would highly encourage you to do it, as it is a very, very easy way to sort of like increase your returns. And over time, the effect of actually doing it becomes very, very significant, as you saw in the example. Now, the example that I just showed you does not take tax into consideration. However, if you do take tax into consideration, the outcome would be the exact same. Namely that reinvesting your dividends is a good idea. The reason why I didn't put it into the example is because that the tax regulations, they do change from country to country. However, there's actually some countries where sort of like the difference between what you're paying from withdrawing your dividends into your bank account and reinvesting them is different, meaning that it's actually even more beneficial to reinvest your dividends in certain countries. The reason why reinvesting your dividends is so extremely powerful is due to compound interest. So I hope that you learned something from this video, and if you did, then please like the video. If you want to see more videos like this one in the future, then please subscribe to my channel. It would mean a lot if you do so. See you next video.